Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wakakadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And I say shalom to you, Akim out there. This was a early news article earlier today because when I seen the stocks of the stocks exchange over there in New York City, I believe the Dow Jones had a good solid gain. I believe it was up like 65 to 70 points. And afterwards, a couple of hours later, the Dow Jones had fell after I seen the news of the news article updated 4 hours ago. And I believe it was down, I would say, like negative 65 or 70 after it had like a good solid gain at first earlier today. And I guess within the last hour or so after the closing bell of the Dow Jones, I guess those solid gains from earlier today have dramatically dropped. And this is a news article. I just want to add a note to that. And this is a news article from Barron's.com by Charisma Vengean and Brian Swimp from the Barron's.com. And it reads, Dow Jones falls after federal minute signals resolve to bring down inflation. Right, because they still tackle the inflation along with the interest rates continue to increase as well too. And it says the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell Wednesday after minutes from the Federal Reserve last meeting emphasizing the central bank committed to bringing down inflation. The Dow Jones dropped 85 points or 0.3%. The S&P 500 was down 0.2%, marking the longest losing streak since the 4-day streak ended in mid-December, and the Nasdaq Composite rose 0.1%. It says the stocks have a challenge week, with indexes posting the largest year-to-date declines Tuesday, right? Because the largest decline it had was ever since December, I believe. And the Dow Jones had failed, I believe, negative 697 points yesterday, along with the hearings of the from Walmart and Home Depot. And keep in mind, as I brought out, I did an outside walk and talk lesson yesterday, while the Dow Jones was down yesterday. In regards to Walmart, Walmart had those recent store closings as well too, so I had to keep that in mind as well too. That was a side note I wanted to add, that happened yesterday. It says stocks have had a challenged week, with indexes posting the largest year-to-date declines Tuesday, thanks to the recent robust economic data. The Purchasing Managers Index adding to the narrative that the U.S. economy remains resilient following a strong readout on retail sales and a sturdy labor market. Altogether, they increased chances of the Federal Reserve will continue to raise interest rates and keep them higher than previously anticipated. It says minutes from the January/1st Federal Opening Market Committee (FOMC) meeting were released Wednesday and provided further clarity of the endgame for interest rate hikes. Several officials saw a slowdown on the federal funds rate as inflation somewhat cools. It says many participants observed that a future slowdown would better allow them to assess the economic's progress towards the committee goals of maximum employment and price stability. The release read. The Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC, has opted to raise its benchmark interest rates by 0.25% points in its most recent meeting. City economist Veronica Clark noted that the Fed's minute has no discussion on the conditions for a possible pause in hikes, reaffirming current market pricing. It says for now, markets have priced in two more than 25 base points rate hikes for 2023, with a possible of a third in the December meeting, according to the CME Federal Watch 2. The Fed has so far this year beating the drum on moderate inflation pressures, but not wanting to surrender in the battle with inflation. Morgan Stanley economist Ellen Zinter saw the report as fairly balanced and suggested watching incoming data. The second estimate for the U.S. gross domestic products in the fourth quarter comes out Thursday, and the personal consumption of expenditures (PCE) is due Friday. PCE is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. Early on Wednesday morning, St. Louis Fed President John Boland told CNBC that more aggressive rate-setting Federal Open Market Committee has a better chance to bring down the inflation, advocating for a top of a nearly 5.4%. Brewer is not a voting member of the interest rate committee this year. If he thinks we only have a little ways to go, he and the peak in the rates might be properly priced in, said Edward Moyer, senior market analyst in brokerage OANDA, crediting Bureau comments for the most up in equities. Wednesday morning, the current rate stands at 4.50 to 4.75%. Bond yields slipped and oil prices fell Wednesday as the sentiment across a range of asset class has shifted to account for expectations of higher interest rates. The 10-year yield was at 3.9%, still near its highest level since November. While West Texas Intermediate crude, the U.S. standard, was down 0.04% at 74.28 a barrel on Wednesday. Energy stocks rallied while oil and natural gas companies such as EQT, ticker EQT, taking the top spot in the S&P 500. Technology company Keysight Technology fell 13%, was the worst performance in the S&P 500 Wednesday. After the loss, investors will get results in Nvidia, NVDA, and ESTY. The international markets, New Zealand central banks lifted rates by a half a point to 4.75 and expected to keep tightening further. The Harkins signals helped move the dollar higher, up to 0.4% as a measure by the U.S. dollar index. And these are the statistics of the Dow Jones fell today, negative 84.50, which is negative 0.26%, and the S&P 500 negative 6.29% to negative 0.16%, as the compository had a solid gain of 14.77, up 0.13%. But the actual main ones was the Dow Jones. They had a good solid gain and it slipped right back down as well too. So the Dow Jones is on a two-day losing streak as the Fed continues to signal to tackle the inflation, and you're still gonna have the interest rates gonna increase as well too. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying of me reading that long article of this news article from Barron's.com as the Dow Jones fell after, at the Dow Jones fall at the Federal Reserve minute signal of resolve to bring down the inflation rate. So the Federal Reserve, they're going to continue to have their main objective to bring down the inflation, to continue to ease the inflation, even though the inflation is somewhat down, but it's still going to increase as they continue to tackle that, even if it going to affect the economy as well too. And you're going to have interest rates going to increase as well too, right along with the tackling of the inflation. So with that, hopefully this sit-down lesson was edifying. I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Akakadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And until next time, I will say shalom.